Hello, ABG is back, and today in our latest series of Top 5, we are back with another episode talking about board game accessories and what are our top 5 accessories that we feel is important when we are actually playing tabletop or board games. So together with me today, we have I have 3 guests. I'm sure by now you will have recognized Geoffrey. He's our returning aspiring board game designer. And next to Geoffrey, we have Musa. Musa is a lifelong Gamerdad, an RPG game master, and also an aspiring board game designer.
Hello.
And last but not least, we have Matthew, yet another aspiring board game designer, but also he has been a 7-year consecutive regular Game Jam participant. So Matthew, maybe you share with us a bit about what Game Jam is about.
Okay, but before that, hi guys. Yeah, so basically, Game Jam is a event which usually happens about between 2 or 3 days. Usually it's over the weekend, and you just go over to a jam site, so basically any location, and you just design games.
Yeah, so literally you spend one weekend and you create a game out of it.
Yeah,
out of weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's challenging and tough to be squeezing all the brain juice over a weekend to create something.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the part of it.
Yeah, when I heard Matthew sharing to me about the Game Jam, it sounded like really very interesting and very exciting. And I think a lot of us should, as aspiring board game designers, right, should really try and go and participate. It'd be good to be together with other creative minds, sharing ideas, sharing expertise, and then hopefully over the weekend, it's going to be quite tough, challenging, but quite fun. Unfortunately, this year, Matthew was quite disappointed with me not being able to join him after so much talk about it, probably because of the COVID-19 situation was getting really bad. So I had to make the call. But I know I already promised Matthew next year I'll join him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're watching this and we are still fighting COVID, please remember to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, make sure you practice social distancing like what we are doing here. We are doing an interview, but obviously we are all in our separate safe location. So please remember to be responsible. Okay, with that, we'll go straight in talking about our top 5 board game accessories. So we'll start with Geoffrey.
Okay, so my number 5 pick will be card sleeves. All right, because every game I bought, generally the first thing I'll buy is card sleeves. All right, card sleeves. The reason why is because I protect my cards. I love my cards, no matter what the quality of the cards are. Okay, and why do I need to protect my cards? For a very simple reason. People eat their snacks when they're playing board game. All right, and when their fingers tend to be oily and greasy, right? Okay, it will somewhat make the card oily. All right, so even if the cards are in good quality and able to wipe it off, right, it's still a lot of work. If I use card sleeves, right, and it gets oily, right, all I need to do is replace the card sleeve. My card still stays clean. Okay, so I'm kind of a clean freak when it comes to cards. Yeah, so no matter what cards I buy, right, I will prepare some card sleeves. And in a way, right, I would like to suggest for most board game publishers or even game designers, right, to design your cards based on, or you pick the size of card, right, based on the available card sleeves. Yeah, because it's quite frustrating, right, to have cards that doesn't fit well or left too many empty space at the width area. The height doesn't matter. Yeah, it still holds. But if it's at the width, right, you will see some cards, more on the left, more on the center. Yeah, so it kind of, I would say, spoil the immersion. Yeah, and of course, for packaging wise, okay, the holders, okay, I will also, suggest that for card holders, leave some space for card sleeves as well, so that when you place the cards with my card sleeves, right? Okay, the card sleeves will not be dented. Yeah, so that would be my number 5 choice, card sleeves.
Okay, I gotta say, card sleeves is actually my number 2. I actually put it quite high because I actually have a lot of card games, and you want to kind of like protect the longevity of the game, right? I think also just to add on to what Geoffrey said, there might be people who don't eat but yet still somehow damage cards, because sometimes people have like either sweaty hands, sweaty palms. So can't change their hands, but you can prevent it by using card sleeves as well. Another thing to also take note is that for some of the card games that I have, they are very sensitive in terms of what is actually showing at the back. So for example, if you look at most deduction games, if you just like maybe say have a little scratch, a little spot down there, it's like, aha, I know it's card A, because of that as an identifier. So having those card sleeves will definitely protect your cards in the long run. If let's say there are spots on the card sleeves, you can always easily switch it out. So yeah, that's for me.
Okay, so I also want to chime in here. For those of you who watch my channel often, you know that in almost all of my unboxing video, it comes with sleeving. So what does that tell you? That means that sleeving is actually number 1 in my list. Sleeving is the most, to me, sleeving is card sleeves are the most important board game accessories to me. For me, other than the fact that it actually protects the cards, the other aspect of it is on shuffling. For those of you who have ever tried shuffling certain card games with sleeves and without sleeves, you know what I'm talking about. When you actually do the crisscross way of shuffling, you actually give the game a better shuffle. Versus when you're trying to, when you do this, like the poker card style, when you're actually doing that, when I see that, it cringes me. Why? Because it means that the cards are getting bent. Yeah, so for me, other than the fact that the sleeves the sleeves will protect the cards, and like what Matthew said, I have the same problem because I'm very observant. So if there is like for example, if there are certain treasure cards in the game, let's say the game have treasure cards and 5 of them, there are only 5 of such cards. One of the card has some edge or some mark, or what we'll call a back con. If you're in the trading card world, if the card has some damage, immediately you can identify what card that is because of the fact that there's so little of those cards. So then in a way it spoils the game for me. So I don't enjoy the game as much as I could if I draw blindly out of the 5 and now I have some hidden information where only I know, which takes the fun out for me. So card sleeves important. And at the same time, I want to give a shout out to Emperor S4, because other than the fact that when they actually make their box, they actually factor in space for the card sleeves. One other thing, I don't know if you all can see through the camera, is that they always will print at the back of their box what size card sleeves are needed for the cards inside the box. So if a game publisher, you are watching this, please do this if you can, because this actually saves a lot of us sleevers a lot of effort and time to guess. We don't even have to guess because we see, okay, now we know and we can buy the sleeves accordingly. So this one is a shout out to Empress 4C. As you can see, this is their game, and all of their boxes, every one of it actually by some reason I have some of their boxes on the table with me. So all of it actually come with the card sleeve size. So that actually helps a lot when we are actually trying to make our purchase. Because to be honest, I think for all of us probably there's in this chat today, we will buy the game and the sleeves at the same time. So it's very helpful, and it makes the game, it gets the game to the table earlier than other games. My collection, where it's still in my collection, is in my what we call the Hall of Shame or Shelf of Shame, because I don't have sleeves for those games yet, and I don't want to start playing because some of those games can cost easily in the hundreds of US dollars. And sleeve, it's not going to be as expensive, but because of the fact that what Geoffrey mentioned, the size is a bit awkward, where I don't actually, it's not a commonly found size like Euro, standard Euro, 57 euro, USA, this and that. Yeah, because of that, I don't have it on the table and I don't get to play it yet because I still am looking for the sleeve. So I'm looking at some of you publishers who decide that to be creative and create cards that the sleeves don't ever exist. If you want to do that, make sure you manufacture the sleeves yourself. Otherwise, don't do it. It's extremely annoying for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yes, Musa, you wanted to add something?
No, I like the part where you mentioned where it is a good practice for game publishers to take into account of how thick the cards are and how it will be when people sleeve them, because then it makes a big difference. One of my Malaysian game designer friends she was talking to me and asking about ideas or whatnot. One of the things I advised her was to make sure when you plan your next box, right, make sure you have space for expansion. Expansion not only in terms of additional expansion cards that you can put and not have a separate box for it, or big enough for if they were to sleeve your cards, right, there's space for them to put them inside the original box without having to buy a separate box, because it's such a waste. You really design such a wonderful box art and cover, right, but then when your players play the game after they sleeve them and they say, oh dear, I can't fit my cards into this box anymore, I got to get a separate Tupperware or something, it's very wasteful.
Yep.
Okay, if I want to add about card sleeves, I forgot to mention one thing, how I do it as well. Okay, sometimes I do buy second-hand board games. Reason why is because it's out of print. Okay, and when you buy second-hand card games, right, the cards that you have are somewhat damaged. So what do you do? Okay, rather than buying transparent card sleeves, you can buy colored card sleeves, and you categorize each type of cards with different colors. So in a way, this can help you and also covers the damage. Yeah.
So anyway, we'll move on. Matthew, you're up next. So what's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is an item that not a lot of people have. In fact, I don't have it, but when I just saw it on the internet because somebody talked about it, I'm like, oh, I need to plan to have it. All right, and this item is actually called a digital table. So basically, right, like for me, I'm the type that likes to go digital. So like for example, maybe you could have like a digital table that actually shows like the board, or maybe you could use the digital table to actually show like your tabletop simulator or your Tabletopia, and people can just play on the same screen, So yeah, it might be a bit costly, but in terms of the aesthetics and in terms of its of its usage in the long run, I think it's actually quite cool, and I think it's actually quite worth investing. So yeah, that's for me.
Actually, Matthew, I think there was one Kickstarter project that they tried to do that. But in the end, I don't think, I'm not sure if it got off just purely because a lot of the boards were not taken up. I mean, the fact that to recreate the boards digitally was not taken up by a lot of the publishers. So in the end, there was some, ultimately things like that will take off if all of the publishers, all the major publishers actually stand behind it and create it or back it to have their games represented there. So hopefully in the new world where we also try to reduce wastage, we don't have to print that many boards if everybody have a digital table like what Matthew mentioned, and then we can quickly just get the board on the table to start playing the game. Yeah, so that probably can be something as an industry on a whole we can look together to reduce our carbon footprint. Because to be honest, as an individual, environmental friendliness is very important to me, wastage and all that. But at the same time, the weird thing is that my hobby involves a lot of paper, cardboard, and wooden pieces and plastic because of the fact of, it's not a digital kind of game, but it's more of something that we can see, we can touch, we can feel.
Yeah, correct. I think that's why we play tabletop games, because we want the physical stuff. You want to be there at the table with these people, with these friends for you to play. When you move it over to digital, it just becomes another computer game. I'm both for and against it. I think there's some element where we still need to have that face-to-face interaction. That's why the tabletop industry, I tell you, I'm very happy that it's growing. But too bad with the current pandemic situation, we have to think out of the box. and find a way to continue to still keep the interest and hobby going, right? But at the same time, not forgetting its roots, and the root is really still tabletop gaming, you know? Yeah.
So we'll move on to Musa's number 5.
Musa didn't actually arrange his in order of preference because it's quite hard to pick. But I know one of my game accessories or other stuff that you can find in typical games that is must not say must be there, but if it is part of the game component, it will have to be it should be like thematically pleasing or aesthetic and very nice, right? And I'm referring to nothing but dice. Okay, dice is one of my new, last time, right, I used to worry why people spend so much money on watches. Why do people spend so much money on shoes or on clothes? But then suddenly with this hobby, right, now I realize I may not have wasted so much money on fashion or whatever. I seem to be spending money on dice. Okay, so these are the wonderful, colorful click-clacks, what we call click-clacks, that forces you to do math. It's quite weird and quite funny. The small little tiny little things can bring so much joy to some gamers. And I know there's quite a lot of gamers out there who nowadays they refer to themselves as dice goblins, right? So they spend money to buy like really special or really nice looking dice. And I think I'm slowly going towards that direction. Although I have dice that come in the boxes of the games, but because as a RPG gamer, right, we sometimes need more than just that one set of dice. So you need to buy more. And then it is a huge market. It's a huge industry out there. There's so many. Now I've upgraded my collection of dice. Doesn't really it's not your typical normal plastic ones or polymers anymore. Now, for this stupid reason, I'm spending like 30 over 50 bucks for metal dice. It's like quite heavy, and when you throw, it has such a nice feeling to it. Yeah, so that's my current stupid thing to do, but it's I'm not apologizing for it. Yeah.
So it seems like dice is not in any of the other three's top 5? Nope. Okay, then we'll move on to my number 5. So my number 5 is something that if you have it or you don't have it, it doesn't really affect the playing of the game. But once you have it for the first time, you realize how fast a game can continue to be played. And that accessory is known as token holders. So for those of you who actually play games where there are multiple different tokens and you actually have to retrieve them, in the past, if you actually, when it comes in a box, usually it comes in the baggies, the ziplocs. Then you realize that you unzip one and then you take out one, and then every time you need to do that, you take out. After a while, you got a bit fed up and you no longer want to take out of the bag. You just pour them, then they are all over the table. So then when you want to start to find the thing, they are all messed up together. And then, it's probably okay when you're playing. When you're packing up the game, it becomes a new problem. Now you're trying to resort everything, especially when you have games that have 20, 30 different components, and then you also have the fact that there are individualized player tokens that is mixed into it, then it's just a mess. So to me, the first time I got myself some nice little cups, just cups. I'll call them cups, where you put your tokens inside and then you put them all over the table. It looks so much neater. You don't actually need that much table real estate to play a game, because now everything is neatly placed and you can find the thing much faster. So it actually reduce the frustration of taking and keeping, especially if you are like myself, the one that owns the game. Chances are you'll also be the one packing the game. So to me, it actually saves me a bit of time and effort. But my number 5 will be token holders. All right, then we'll move on to number 4. So Geoffrey, we're back to you.
Okay. All right. The reason why token holders are not in my list, right, is because my number 4 are actually Ziploc bags. Yeah. Okay. I have a very good reason why I mentioned that. Okay. a lot of times when I host games, right? Okay, I find Ziploc bags are so helpful in a way. It kind of help categorize tokens. It help categorize cards. Another thing is they also help categorize player components. So rather than taking everything out and slowly divide the resources, I don't know how many per players, right? I'll just put like, each player have this number of cards, this number of tokens, I just give it to you. Then, I will start by, okay, please check, open a Ziploc bag and check, whether this number of tokens are provided for you. Yeah. So this helped me save up a lot of time for setup. Okay, and Ziploc bags also help me save a lot of time on keeping the game. Yeah, especially when it requires counting components. Yeah, all right. So why I didn't pick token boxes, right, is because token boxes tend to be limited in size. Yeah, I mean that's my point of view. Yeah, to me it doesn't really fit all games, but Ziploc bags, right? Okay, it kind of fit all games depending on what size you have. Yeah. So I will always go for those $2 value shop for Ziploc bags. Okay, I don't really care about size. Okay, and many times for board games, right, I do remove the plastic holder so that I can throw in most of the components with Ziploc bags, and I will somewhat take the plastic holder and maybe write down in marker on it. Okay, what game does it belong to? I keep it in my storeroom. So if I'll sell it away, I'll just put it back. Yeah. So that's my number 4, Ziploc bags.
Okay, I just want to chime in back on this token holder Ziploc bag argument. So I will also be linking my series of Neat Board Gamers. For those of you who have watched those before, you'll realize that what I do actually is I will also take games with expansions and I'll put them into the main game box itself, because honestly speaking, you buy the expansion, you want to play the game itself. What's the point of having 4 boxes and then you take out the main box and then you take out the expansion box and you take out expansion number 2 box and then you take so much time to actually set up the game. So when I actually talk about token holders, actually what I also mean is that they are also permanently placed inside the game box itself so that it sorts them out from the get-go. Yeah. So maybe the concept is probably a bit similar to how Geoffrey looked at Ziploc bags, but to me, when I actually have the token holders, they are straight away ready on the table to go. Yeah.
No worries. I think it's up to individual how they want. What's their method of categorizing their components? Yeah. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just a personal habit.
Of course, yeah. Yep. So, with that, I'm sure nobody else have Ziploc bag in their listing. Then we'll move on to Matthew's number 4.
Okay. My number 4. It's actually an item that most people would actually say is actually kind of similar to chips. So maybe I'll just talk about the chips first before I talk about my item. So I think like a lot of gamers, right, they usually like to use chips, especially in terms of like money, so that it's easy for them to count. So usually denominations are like in 1, 5s and 10s and 50s. So when they have like a small number, they are easy. I mean, firstly, the number of chips that they have is small, but yet at the same time, it can actually cater to a wide range of currency in a sense, or total value. So for me, my number 4 is actually tokens, because it kind of not only be able to use as chips, but it can also be used as like either replacement parts, or it could even just replace the parts in itself. The ones that I particularly like to use is the crystal tokens, right? They got like about 10 different colors, and I usually carry them with me whenever I go for my game jams. Yeah. So that's my number 4, crystal tokens.
So tokens, anyone, any taker? Okay, I kind of have a crossover on this. My number 2 is actually coins. I mean, it's probably in the same spirit of when Matthew says token. Yeah. So personally, I actually keep a set of currency that I actually use as game tokens or game coins to replace some of the in-game currency. So what I do personally is I actually have a box of yen, 1 yen and 5 yen. Yeah, because to be honest, when I was trying to search of how much a box of tokens or coins that is a metal cost, the cost of it, right? One box of it that comes with 100 of it, right, can cost me something like 70 over US dollars because they are specially made looks. There's a specific look to it and all. Yeah, but I realized that when I was in Japan traveling for my holiday and I started collecting the 1 yen coin, they are lightweight, they are durable, and the good thing is in Singapore, at least based on Singapore currency, 80 yen is only $1. So I have 80 of it and it only cost me $1, and I put it in a box where every time I play Asian team games, I will use it as a coin, as a token, because it's thematic as well. There are a lot of Japanese games that have currency in their game. So to me, there are token coins. I'll say they are not too far off. Just that mine is in a metal format, and I'm sure mine probably will be cheaper than Matthew's one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good find, like quite cheap, because nowadays even if you buy certain games or if you back certain games on Kickstarter, right, they will try to earn a bit more money by trying to sell you the premium upgrades. So instead of having those cardboard cutouts for tokens or whatnot, right, they say, oh, if you want to have an even better experience, you can add some more dollars, some more higher amount of money to pledge and get the premium upgrade to metal coins, you know. And then you have people like me who end up still buying them because it's okay, I'm a sucker for this lah. So I think, wow, you just gave me a really good idea. Right? Try to look for generic coins or whatnot and just have it as my stash, and then use it for any other games.
Yeah, I recently posted a photo of my yen online, and I got quite a lot of comments on Facebook where they actually tell me, a lot of the people tell me that they actually bought old currency that no longer is in circulation. Like for example, yen I'm using now, obviously yen is still a currency that is in use, but some of them actually use some of the, I mean, because there are a lot of Euro games out there, obviously. So a lot of the old European currency before the Euro is founded, those coins are very sought after in their in an afterlife, just purely because they can actually fit in the theme. And I think one of them actually did mention that it's very cheap to purchase some of these because they are just metal that is either you buy it, you find value for it, or else it just goes back to the mint and it just goes back to becoming metal, because it's probably worth more as metal now than coins themselves, because they are no longer in circulation.
Yeah, it's like a form of investment also, right?
Yeah, I mean, to
you
me,
never know they will increase in value in like 20-30 years from now. Amazing.
Yep.
Okay, just to share with you my experience for tokens, the reason why it's not part of my top 5 is because I can basically find a lot of replacement at an even lower price. Okay, so let me give you an example. Right? You can see here, right, these are fake gold ingots. Okay, so before Chinese New Year, it has a certain price. Okay, not expensive, but it's let's say around $2-3. Okay, but after Chinese New Year, right, basically it gets lower, and sometimes, right, okay, if you participate in events, okay, there are a lot of leftovers. So basically, some of them you can actually take it away. Yeah. So in a way, I kept them. I rarely use them. Okay, the only reason I use them, right, is when I'm doing my prototype for my game design. Yeah. So other than that, another reason is I'm quite satisfied with the tokens provided by board games itself. Yeah. So I rarely thought of replacing them. Yeah.
Since Geoffrey has something to show, this is my yen.
Yeah. Nice.
So it just comes in a box, and and this box I love especially because you can keep the cover on, and you can just put it on the table straight away. And see, this is one of the token holder that I was using, because the lid can fit into immediately starting the gameplay. So anyway, these are the yens that I use. So hopefully one day yen prices rise so much that it's more worthwhile for me to convert these back as money than as token. Yeah, but this is okay. I think we have been on the topic of token and coins for a while now. We'll move on to Musa's number 4.
Okay, so the next logical accessory that I really like after dice would definitely have to be what? The dice tower. Okay, one of the first few dice towers that I have was actually handmade.
So we're gonna see.
I actually did a dice tower out of paper. Yeah, myself. So you just find the template somewhere and try to fit it, and then it becomes a proper dice tower already. No? It adds that extra fun when we play the game. Instead of just rolling it on the table, and you could just roll off the table, and you get angry at each other or try to find it. So dice towers get upgraded, and then I love it so much. Eventually, I tried to find. I talked to some of my friends who are into the DIY, who's doing a lot of like people I met at a maker fair, whatever not. So I met this fellow who I'm slowly starting to work with, see whether we can do a customized and simple DIY, fix it yourself, dice tower for cheap. This one you can actually disassemble and assemble. Some of these dice towers actually may come with a game. I know some games nowadays they come with a themed dice tower already. You can use those, or if not, you can either buy it outside, or you can try to make one yourself. One of my pride and joy of a dice tower is this other one that is custom made with my friend. So it's like a really tall, really super tall. There was one day I brought this to my RPG game and everybody was like, "What is that?" It's the noise that the dice make as they roll down. So like it adds to the fun and excitement and the randomization of the dice roll. So this is one of my favorites. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, talking about dice tower that Musa was mentioning, one of the most popular game that comes with a dice tower is obviously Wingspan. In the game itself, you also have I think you can assemble a bird cage looking.
Bird feeder or bird house.
Bird feeder.
Yeah.
Tower.
So it was a really, I didn't expect it. No, I knew Wingspan was such a popular game, and I said, okay lah, I want to buy. I just give it a shot. So when I opened the box and I saw the template for the DIY bird feeder, I think I was more excited about that than the actual game. Yeah.
Okay, so Musa's number 4, dice tower. Next, I'll move on to my number 4. My number 4 is actually somewhat like my number 5, in a sense that if you don't have it, it doesn't mean that you can't play the game. But the moment you start having it, it actually adds to the game. And my number 4 is game mats.
Oh, okay.
Game. So, ever had the occurrence where you actually play cards on the table and you have difficulty picking them up because it just cannot happen? Whether are they sleeve or not, you still can't pick that off, and more often than not, you will see the sleeves getting bent just because people are trying to pick that up using their fingernails and all. So to me, having a game mat actually adds to it, because number one, now you have a neoprene kind of backing on the table. You know that your components will not be damaged, especially when you have other things like various cardboard-based tokens and boards and whatnot that you actually play on the table itself. And with that, actually, it helps lah. It helps with the playing. Everything looks nice. It looks neat. Yeah. So to me, game mat is my number 4 choice. So no one has game mat. Okay.
I do. Actually, I do have. It's actually one of my number 1s. The game mat or the tableau or the player area, right? To me, is rather important, because like for yours, it's more of a practical reason where you can pick up the cards more easily and it doesn't bend or destroy the card so much, right? But mine is more of the gameplay itself. To have the game mat on the table, right, you actually can get yourself a bit more organized. You know where to place the cards, you know what happens, and the better game mats for me will be those that actually have icons that tell you what to do or part of the rules. So you don't have to go back and look at the rule book and whatever not. So for example, the photosynthesis game, I like how the individual player mats, right, actually shows what are the costs to do the different things. Yeah, so the game mat itself can double up as, you know, reminder of what the rules are for the game, what are the costs, what are the next possible steps, or the order of play. You know, apart from game mats nowadays, of course, you have those tiny little cards at the side, what they call the player aids, right? So the play area is, to me, is quite important. So if you have table mats, or you know, the player area that is designed quite nicely, it serves a lot of purpose. It's really awesome.
So then we'll move on to number 3.
All right, number 3. Okay. So far my number 5 and number 4, right? Okay, I've basically mentioned more focus on, you know, how you keep your games. Okay, so this number 3 will be probably my last item relating to keeping your games. Okay. Have you thought of this question? How are you going to carry your board games? What do you use to carry your board games? Okay, and you know, is it secure, you know, in different kind of weather? Okay, so my number 3 are actually called board game bags. Okay, so I am not going to recommend which particular brand of board game bags. So what I suggest, right, you can go Google board game bags and find designs that actually help you fit your type of board games. Okay, so why I recommend board game bags, right, is because in the past I used to have shopping bags, I used to have luggages, I used to have normal haversacks to carry my board games, and I can tell you, fitting a board game together with any other stuff, all right, can be quite challenging. And especially if you are a hot board game host like me, who carry multiple board games, right, a board game bag can help you arrange nicely a cord that fits, you know, the boxes. So some of the board game bags are designed to carry multiple boxes at one go. Yeah, so there is a lot of flexibility, you know, as in, you know, you don't need to worry, you know, this bag is unable to fit 5 of my games, 6 of my games, you know, because of the arrangement. Yeah, so that's my number 3, board game bags.
Agreed. Okay, board game bags is the next thing that I was going to talk about. Just like Geoffrey, right? We you know, we're very happy to play our games with friends or whatever not. We tend to host game meetings, not just at our own places but elsewhere also. Elsewhere, right? So as an RPG game master, so I have to bring my minis, my dice, my maps, right? And other board games along with me. I used to use the shopping bags or those kind of recyclable bags, and to try and fit so many, I become like go shopping with a lot of different bags at one time, you know. And some of these components can be, if you pack them a lot, it can be quite heavy. So recently, like some of us, we were like my fellow game masters, we saw some campaigns, board game bag campaigns, and we actually bagged one of them, and we've been using it for quite extensively. It's very, very useful. Like what Geoffrey said, right? They are clever enough to design it in such a way where they know we're going to carry more than 2 or 3. It's a lot. We're going to bring a lot, right? So, and if they can fit nicely, the side it's definitely going to be quite big, because the standard game box board game box is also quite huge, right? But they are quite mindful to design that. The better ones will be mindful to design them in such a way where you can actually fit a few of them quite nicely. You know, you play a bit like a box Tetris in the back lah, but it serves its purpose. And the better ones also would have padding at the side, so that, you know, it protects our box from all the knocks and whatever not when we carry, especially even if we put it in our car. You know, you don't want to damage your box inside, right? So the padding in the box is pretty important also. And knowing how heavy it can be, the straps, whether you're gonna strap the game box on your back like a haversack or sling it, the good game bags will be those that have padding for those also, being mindful that, you know, you got to protect your back and everything. So the board game bags was actually my number 1 also. My number 1.
Okay, so next we'll move with Matthew's number 3.
Okay, my number 3 has been somewhat slightly covered by Geoffrey's Ziploc bags, by Seb's I can't remember. I think it was board. Okay, anyway, also board games bag is also one of them lah. As in, it's similar in that sense. So my number 3 is actually drawstring bags. Now, what a drawstring bag is, if you actually know what a dice bag is, yeah, exactly that. So generally, because for me, the kind of games that I usually either curate in terms of like hosting, or usually what I like to play or what I like to design are actually small games. So like sometimes when you're like having the box is like very hard and stuff like that, and you don't really want to damage the box and stuff like that. So what I'll do is I'll remove the packaging and I'll put all my stuff inside these dice bags or drawstring bags. One reason why I do that, again, protect the box. The other reason is also because sometimes when you put cards, basically all your game components inside the box, so sometimes there may be additional space being eaten either by the inserts, or even if you remove the inserts, there's just that additional space. So by removing that, you are essentially compacting them, right? Even if there's so-called excess space inside the drawstring bag, right? All you just need to do is fold it, and it consumes less space as well. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Musa, what is your number 3?
I think the last one that I can speak about, it's I can't remember. We talked quite a lot already. I miscounted how many have I spoken about, but I know the next one that I really want to talk about is actually the game box itself, the packaging, right? The packaging of the game box itself, I think is one of those things where a lot of game designers have not really considered, but it can serve its purpose not just as a box to keep the game or what your game comes in. Okay, so like to me, one of the few game boxes that really caught my eye, that serve its purpose, which is to get me to buy the games, are those kinds of game boxes that looks very interesting and somewhat deceiving. Okay, like this particular game boxes from Facade Games, for you wouldn't know that these are game boxes. They look like books, okay, but it's packaged so beautifully as if it's like a book that I can hide it on my shelf. Maybe I don't want my wife to know that I bought another game. I just say, no, I bought a book. I put it on my shelf. I put it on my shelf together with the other my other books. See, it looks like a book, right? But when you open up, it's actually it's a box. So all the game components are inside. It's beautifully designed, right? And then I know that there are some companies or some games out there. Recently, one was kickstarted by Tiny Epic. Tiny Epic has done a lot of games, and if you were to Google later, when I think Tiny Epic Tactics actually uses the box as part of the terrain, as part of the gameplay. So the game itself will have the different components like the meeples, the dice, the tokens, the cards, and whatever not, right? But the box itself is being used as the 3D terrain. So tactics wise, right? You know where to put your meeple, who you're gonna attack. It becomes the 3D effect itself. So it's quite awesome. And also for my RPG stuff, right? For my RPG stuff, I do have like a box of dungeon tiles. So for my D&D, these are all the different map tiles that I need to have to lay out my map. But the box itself is designed in such a way that it actually has the grids also. So this itself can be part of the entire map, so that there's a bigger piece on the table. So to me, game boxes, it's one thing that we haven't really thought of trying to do more with it as game designers. Yeah. In fact, when I'm trying to do one of the games which I'm trying to design, I try to copy or follow the book design, right? I get one of the guys to do a prototype for me, and what I was hoping for with this particular effect, right, that the box itself I can open, and then if I were to turn it upside down, right, if I were to turn it upside down and find a way to actually level it up, right, the box itself will be the playmat. So I haven't found a good or reliable manufacturer, right, to make this happen. So the moment I find it, right, so it could be something interesting, something different, that could hopefully sell my game better.
And so I'll move on to my number 3, because it's my turn now. And because my number 1 and number 2 has already been a crossover with someone, so this will be the last thing that I'll be talking about. So my number 3 is a bit different from Musa's dice tower, where he enjoys the sound where the dice come down. Mine is actually dice tray, where the effect of it is to muffle the sound away. Yeah. Why I even in the past it didn't really bother me until the born of my newborn. When you have a child and you have a baby at home and you throw dice on the table, and then when the baby starts crying, that's the end of your board gaming session. The exact same one in red. I have the exact same one in red. Let me quickly get that out.
Game Master must have his own set to share around. Right? Yeah, I got so many. I need to bring for my players.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah. No, it helps because with the metal dice, right? You don't want to throw the metal dice on the table. It's gonna be dense and whatever not. So the dice tray helps a lot to protect your table.
The best thing is the dice tray, like what Musa is doing, it actually flattens when you keep, so it's
easy to keep. Easy to keep and nice, easy to slot into the dice. The board game bag also.
So to me, dice tray is my number 3, purely because of the fact that if I don't have this as an accessory, a lot of my board game nights would have been halted in the middle of the game because the dice would have woken up the baby. So it's a lot for very practical reasons.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah. Now it stops it from rolling off the table and then suddenly go under the cupboard, under the chair somewhere. So hard to find. So it's
especially
like containment,
very specific. That means, like, for example, your dice is not your standard D6 where you have only your pips. You have some special print on it. Like, for example, your King of Tokyo dice, where you have heart, all that, lightning bolt. Those dice, if you lost, you cannot, it's not easily replaceable.
Yeah, customized dice.
So this also helps with the fact that it doesn't roll off the table. But with that said, for some reason, some people will still manage to throw the dice outside of the tray. So I'm sure all of you who use the dice tray, you can have the same feeling as me when you see that the tray is so big, but you can throw outside.
They throw it too hard.
Probably throw too hard, or they miss the thing. So anyway, my number 3 is a dice tray, and with that I'm out already. I think Musa, you also have your 5 games.
Out already because it overlap with some of them.
Yeah, so we are left with Geoffrey and Matthew's top 2.
All right. So for my number 2, will be more focused on gameplay. All right. So one thing I don't like about some board games, right, is how they decide who's the first player. So for example, some games they pick the oldest player, and then there is one lady who is young at heart, who refused to reveal her age. All right. Had all the eyes stare at her, and she replied, "I'm forever 21 years old." And there are some other games, who look at the first suns, who recently looked at the sunset. So we have 2 players. Okay, I saw a romantic sunset yesterday. Oh, so do I. What time? I can't remember. Yeah. Yes. So in debates like that, how are you going to decide, who's the first player peacefully? Well, you have a smartphone, download an app that kind of decides who is the first player. So there are many similar apps, that works this way. So I'm not very sure what's the generic term. I would call it the first player app or the starting player app. So I'm not going to advertise one particular app. There are many apps like that. So how it works is all players will put in a finger and wait for which particular or whose finger is got highlighted, and that is where you indicate this is the first player. So to me, this is fast. This is probably fairer. So this is one quick and easy way to decide who's the first player, rather than all those lame ways on how you decide the first player. Yeah, if not, for some games, you know, if you're the youngest player, you'll never be the first player for the rest of your life. That's my number 2.
Yeah, if we expanded this to top 10, I'm sure this would have been inside my list because I also losing. But I think I must say, because of circuit breaker and the whole COVID situation, it has been a while since I had to fire up this app, because we have been playing so much board game online where the computer automatically selects who is the starting player. So
Yeah.
for a long time, we haven't had that choice to make. So yeah, I would have put this in if the list was much longer. Good recommendation. Anyway, the app that I just showed is called Charazi. If you use the mobile phone version, I think it can go up to 5 or 10 players. On the iPad version, you can have more fingers on it. And also it can help you formulate teams on the iPad version. So for example, you need 2 teams of 4 players. It can even segregate the teams out for you. So it's fairer. Like for example, if you're playing a game like Codenames, instead of those strong players congregate together because you play so often, this app will help you automatically randomize the choosing.
Yeah, I play board games a lot with my kids, and then they can be quite competitive. So between the 3 of us, sometimes when we want to decide who is the first player, is very difficult, because honestly speaking, none of us want to be first player. Because especially when you play games where it's equal number of turns, right? I tell you, being the first player always lose in my family. So so this kind of randomize, no quarrels, who's going to be first, is very, very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to Matthew's number 2.
My number 2 has been covered already, which is sleeves. So do I go to my number 1 or do we?
Oh, your number 2. Okay, your number 2 is sleeves. So anyway, we'll just do a recap. So Matthew's number 2 is sleeves. I think Musa's one of his next choice will be board game decks, which was already mentioned before. My number 2 are coins or tokens, which is also mentioned before. So then we will go back to let Geoffrey continue talking.
All right.
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay, my number 1 might surprise the 3 of you. Okay, so I like to play a lot of games, especially economic games, right? Where the most money wins or the most points win. During the game, right, there are some mechanics that basically divide, you know, how much profits earned by this particular company or this particular section, okay, according to your shares. And when this happens, right, let's say, okay, you earn this company earns, let's say, a weird number, for example, 2,731, okay, and you have a total of 4 shareholders. So how to split evenly with this weird number? And you have to do some mental calculation. It's very tiring. So my number 1 is calculator.
Calculator.
Yes. Yes. Okay, there are some games, right? Okay, especially when you count the total score, they don't have a score indicator. Do you call score indicator the one where you move the tokens to 1 point? I actually can't remember what is the term called. Okay, so not all games have something like that.
It's popularized by one of the German designer, where they start to put the scoring track on the side of the board.
Scoring track. Yes,
that Kramer that created it. I can't remember it off it. Yeah, I think it's Wolfgang Kramer who created that.
Yeah. So in a way, right, some games don't have this scoring track, like what we said. Okay, so in the end, right, the total score you have to calculate yourself, okay, based on your mental model. Okay, what's worse is like the example I said. Okay, all right, you have percentage of shares, okay, from the profits earned, and then to divide it with this weird odd number, okay, it's a pain. All right, of course, what's worse, right, is, let's say, okay, a share has a certain percentage. So let's say, okay, 4 of us, okay, I own 30% of the share, set 10%, Matthew earn 5%. Okay, now we're going to divide profits. Oh shit.
All right. Yeah, I want to play game. I don't want to do math.
Yes.
The hard math I can at least tahan will be the one that I count the numbers from my dice. Anything bigger than that, I don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll be surprised that there are a lot of games like that requires a lot of calculation, and for obvious reason they don't provide calculator. Yes, it's costly, so why not open up your phone? You can find it in your phone as well. Just use a calculator, you know, work on it. Yeah, you can resolve it very fast. So that's my number 1, calculator.
Actually, recently I just used a calculator on a game. It's a game you probably won't think you need a calculator, but I recently played Point Salad because we played with the whole stack of deck. I mean, we decided not to restrict ourselves. The amount of points we amassed by the end of it is crazy. And you have so many different multipliers of cabbage. You earn this amount of point, you earn negative point here and there. There's so many things that you need to add up. In the end, it just becomes a long string of numbers that you want to just press onto the calculator and let them add up your points together. Because at the same time, you don't want to miscalculate your points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Geoffrey's number 1 is calculator. So before we move on to Matthew's number 1, just a recap, Musa's number 1 has already been mentioned, player mat or game mat. And my number 1 is obviously card sleeves. So Matthew, on to you, and you round us off with your number 1 pick of board game accessories.
Sure. And I hope this number 1 really surprises you guys. So anyway, for me as a designer, as a gamer, and as a host, so sometimes there might be games that I need to teach, right? But maybe sometimes I do not have the game itself, or maybe I have the game but I don't really want to take out the rules to go and read. So actually my number 1 will be PDF rules. Yeah. So based on the previous points that I mentioned, so usually it's out of convenience. Usually is if let's say you got like pockets of free time and you want to just learn the game, you can just download the rules and you can just read it in your own time. Yeah. And especially for when I'm hosting sessions, there's usually quite a number of games that I need to read up before introducing them. So yeah, PDF rules, number 1.
So this Zoom meeting is made possible thanks to Capital Games Studios hosting. And if the accessories that we mentioned are things that you use yourself personally, do comment below, let us know your thoughts on them. Or if you have some other gaming accessories that we didn't mention, but you feel strongly that we should know about, please also do mention in the comments below, share your thoughts, let people know what is good. So we all that are in the hobby get to benefit from it. Okay, so of course, if you do enjoy videos like this, please do like, share it, and subscribe to Amateur Board Gamers for more of this, and watch more of our videos over at the site. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.